Morning guys, I'm Chad LaChance. This is Fishful Thinker. We're on Horsetooth Reservoir in my Ranger boat and we're going fishing for smallmouth bass today. It's freezing cold, water temperatures in the mid 40s. We're gonna rotate through a bunch of hard baits and see what we come up with. We had fresh snow in the lake just a couple of days ago, so we have our work cut out for us, but it should be fun. It's a lake I fish a lot. We're pretty excited about it, cold weather or otherwise. So stay tuned, get comfortable, this will be fun.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Berkeley, catch more fish. Abu Garcia, for life. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. And Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Let's see if we can just go ahead and catch one right off the bat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw my jerkbait up here. We're gonna pull it down, couple sweeps, give it 3 or 4 good pops, and then just kill it. And we're just gonna let it sit there. Now, the bait's literally sitting there. I've got enough fluorocarbon on the front of this tracer braid right here that it will hold the bait down, even though the water's only 46 degrees. I'll pop the bait, then let it sit. I'm talking about pauses that are gonna be somewhere between about 5 and 30 seconds at a time. The tracer braid becomes effectively my strike indicator. So I can see it on the surface, I can see the color changes, and I can see if it swims away. So that's my whole system right there. All right, well, 46.2 degree water, guys, 46.2. More than a foot of snow here 2 days ago. Water temperature was previously well into the 50s. And now we're right away. We've been fishing for 20 yards and we're bit already. So that's a good sign, guys. And they you know, for this particular pond, you know, we'll take it. That's a good fish. There's not a lot of giants in this lake, but we'll take that one right off the bat to get us started. There's been a lot of tournament guys over the years that wish they had this fish, but beautiful fish. We'll get him put back. But you know, the reason we grab this bait here, guys, this suspending jerkbait, we've talked about it on a jillion shows. There it is, little Cutter 90. Beautiful color. They call this one citrus shad, little purple over chartreuse right there. Just putting the bait out and suspending it in the water column, just letting it hang there and that one fully swim away. Love it, love it, love it, guys. And you look how patient I'm trying to be. The boat's not moving. The line's just hanging there on the surface. You can see it laid out. I know the camera has a polarizer, but it's not as good as my Costa's, but I can see that line clear out there. That line out on the surface, I'm watching where the farthest color change that I can see is, and that will let me know if that bait gets bit. If this line is tight, the bait won't sit there like I want it to. It's not suspending motionless in the water column, so I can't keep the line tight enough to feel the bites. So you've got to start and finish with slack, leave the slack hanging there, and then that's how you're gonna find your bites. That line will just pull tight, it'll swim away, it'll swim to one side or the other, there'll be a little tick on the line, something like that. Every now and then they'll get it right when you go to pop the bait or something like that, but usually it's gonna happen just sitting there, especially in this 46 degree water. All right guys, spot number 2. We just ran about 5 miles up the lake. It's cold out. It's only about 38 to 40 degrees, something like that. It's cold, as you can see. Most importantly, this bank's a lot steeper, and so what my thought process is, even though there was a ton of fish on flat banks a few days ago before the snow, I suspect that maybe they pulled off of some of those flat banks. We caught a few, but we didn't catch a lot, and so we're gonna run around the lake and try different things. Okay, there we got us another one. That's why you put the tube jig down, and I don't know what we got this time. Oh, got a smallmouth. All right, so we'll get down here and see what he looks like. Just going back and forth with our 1-2 punch, and it's a decent sized smallie right here. Another one on that little 2.5-inch tube. Come on up here, buddy. We'll see if we can get a hold of him gracefully up into the boat. We will take that one. There you go, right in the top of the snout. Perfect little 2.5-inch tube jig. Nice belly on him. Beautiful. 46 degree water or otherwise, you can still catch them. I mean, 46.4, and it was almost 53 degrees right here 5 days ago.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Evinrude, spend more time on the water. And Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Okay, there we go. Now, we didn't get very far since the last one, guys, and that one ate it and swam away with it, and And it looks like we got us another smallie. So I think our area to better deep water access was a good move, because we've only been fishing here for a couple of minutes now and we've already picked a couple of them up. And I'll tell you the honest truth, guys, this fishing rod I'm throwing right here is my favorite spinning rod of ever. It's the new Legend Elite from St. Croix, another cute little fatty. Come here, buddy, come here, buddy. Come here, buddy, come out from underneath there. There we go. Look how fat that one is. And he's got the tube buried, and that's the new color right there. That's the new Berkley 2.5 inch power tube on an 1/8 ounce jig head. Sweet little bait and a beautiful horse-tooth smallmouth. Big old belly on him, gorgeous fish. And you know, for this lake, that's what you're looking for. And the funny thing about fishing in real cold water like this is, in my mind for bass, is what you really have to pay attention to is more details than normally. Everything gets magnified when it gets real cold. Everything gets more technical, gets more magnified. Your strike zones get smaller. Your areas that your fish are tend to get smaller. They tend to group up more when it gets cold. You don't see them spread out all over the place like you may in June when they're post-spawn and they're just feeding. At this point, they're stacked up together in certain spots. So you get fish that won't move very far to get a bait because it's cold. You have a lot of water that doesn't have fish in it. So we're gonna work this bank. It looks flat, but it actually comes out here, breaks off into deep water. So we're gonna work down here. I've picked up the Wild Thing again because our biggest fish have been biting the Wild Thing. So we'll see what happens. The tube's been the most consistent, but the Wild Thing's got the biggest one. So we'll see what happens here. And again, we're gonna do the same thing. I'll wind the bait down until it makes contact with the rocks, and then I will start going much slower and just pulling it. All right, there we go. I just switched back to the jerkbait, guys, and I apologize. I didn't even tell the camera guy, but threw it up on the same spot I just threw the Wild Thing, and this is the little cutter. Look at this slob right here, guys. That's what we're looking for. Beautiful fish. And I think we're gonna go ahead and net that one because that's a nice one, and that's and he just completely tanked my cutter. For this pond, guys, that's a big one. There it is, guys. There's your Berkley Cutter 90, and there's an absolutely beautiful horse-tooth smallmouth. Big kiss. I love that. And then again, they get bigger than that in a lot of places in the country, but for this pond, that, guys, is a big one. Boom, on the little cutter. I just ran the Wild Thing through there, didn't get bit, set it down, picked the other bait up, didn't even tell the camera guy, that's my bad, and pow, it's bit right away. So good action, just keeping mixing it up between the crankbait, the jerkbait, and the tube jigs. If you watch working this crankbait in the cold water like this, I'm pulling it with the rod and then wind back to it. I'm not really winding the bait in. I'm just pulling it just fast enough to get it to stay down and kind of dig and dive and stay down tight to the bottom without really winding the bait, so to speak. And I'm doing that for two reasons. I want it to go as slow as possible. And two, if you look at the bank, it's extremely snaggy right here. So if I'm winding the reel, I don't have near the feel that I need to have to keep the bait from hanging. So when it starts to hang in something, if I'm pulling it with the rod, that's a lot more sensitive and I can feel that it's starting to hang as opposed to being a bite, and I can relax on it and let it float back up. And even this Wild Thing will float right back up out of the stuff if you give it a chance. And you can see it's dragging in the bottom there. Got him. Nope. God dang it, that was a bite. Oh, come on, Chad. Idiot. That was a bite. Might have been a trout. Problem with trout and crankbaits is they'll smack it but not get a hold of it in a lot of cases, even big trout. Eat it. There he is, got him. There we go. Got that one. All right, now Almost smacked the camera guy. Look at this one too, it's a big one. That's, oh buddy, look at that wild thing, guys. That's how you want to see your crankbait in the cold water. Come here, fish, come here, fish, got him. I almost got the camera guy with the rod, so I apologize for the goofy hook set on that one. But there's your wild thing. That's a brand new bait from Berkeley right there. This came out last year at ICAST, and we've been fishing it. It's only been available to the public since about November, December. And that's a beautiful horse-tooth smallmouth right there, guys, all curled up. You can see how red his eyes are. Kind of match the bait here, look at that. Little smallmouth eyes match my bait perfectly. That counts for something. Big smooch. There you go, baby.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. Peterson Toyota and Toyota Trucks, moving forward. Lawrence, find, navigate, dominate.
And as long as you're pulling that crankbait like that, if you don't totally slack it out, in other words, give it slack, if you don't do that with it, it'll stay down. As long as you keep the line tight, it'll stay down, because realistically, because of the shape of the bill on any of the crankbaits, and particularly this wild thing as well, if you look, if I hold this crankbait horizontally, the bill's got a steep angle to it. So for it to come float up, the water pressure is pushing it backwards. So as long as the line is tight, the bait won't float to the surface nearly as fast as if I totally slack it out, at which point it'll go ahead and back its way to the surface. But if I keep the line tight, it can't go backwards because it's pulling against the line, and it'll float up way slower. So it's a matter of as I'm pulling the rod, I want to keep the bait down in the strike zone, so I pull the rod, get the bait out here. As I sweep it down, I don't want to throw the slack back at it like I might with a jerkbait, or I'll lose the depth I gained. All I want to do is stop and wind back to the crankbait, if that makes any sense. So I'm keeping the line tight and keeping the crankbait down in the water column, and that's how you'll get the most bites with it. Okay guys, just spotted some more in the graph right here. Right under the boat, right on top of this ridge. Same ridge I just caught one on a minute ago. Boat drifted onto it while we were dealing with the fish, but we're still marking fish on it. So we're gonna see, they're not deep enough. The water's only 10, 11, 12 feet deep right here, depending on where exactly in the water column we are. So I'd rather see more water under the boat to try to catch fish. So I generally don't like to have my boat on top of the fish unless I'm in deep enough water that I feel confident that the fish will not be worried about it. But in this case, 10 feet of water, that's, you know, it's a big giant boat shadow right on top of what I suspect are big mature smallmouth. So maybe not ideal scenario, but I will come back here in a half an hour and try to time it. Fish, there we go. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but that's got to be about one of my favorite ways to catch fish. Just let the bait hang out there and let them just swim off with it. That is good fun. Another beautiful little smallie. Not quite as big as maybe some of the others, but we'll take him anyway. He played very nice on our little Cutter 90. He'll still fish. There you go. I don't know if we're rolling. He's a cute little tyke, but just bait just hanging. I'm just bouncing it and letting the boat drift away from it. Just let it hang out there, not moving at all. And you just swim away with it. Just, I mean, literally just, the line just pulls tight. And that's why we have the multicolored line. You can see the color transition right there. Dark line and light line. I can watch it. It gives me an easy chance to see if the line's moving this way or not. When it goes that way, you got a nibble. That's awesome. Got him. Oh, I missed him. Okay. It's the meanest trick ever. just for the record, and we've done this demonstration, or we've talked about jerkbaits on so many shows that I sometimes feel like a broken record, but if we were snook fishing in Florida, I would be doing the same thing. If we were red fishing in Louisiana, I would be doing the same thing potentially. If we were, you know, walleye fishing in Glendo, I'd be doing the same thing. If we were working wipers on the dam face in Nebraska, I'd be doing the same thing. And if you're wondering why I do that, there's a good sized smallmouth that'll clue you in right here, guys. How about that one? In there. Oh man. There you go. Let me get this one out of here, take it out of the net. Let's just see that net's Frabill net there is snag proof, so the hooks don't get it. They just get in the mesh itself. But and here's the bait. Everyone always wants to see the bait. We get hate mail. We don't show you a good close up. There it is. There's your Cutter 90 right there, and that's a chartreuse shad. They call it. The purple on the back. It's kind of translucent, and that is a beautiful horsetooth smallmouth. Put it back real quick. So yeah, if you need an excuse to throw a jerkbait, there was one for you.
Fishful Thinker Television is brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. St. Croix Rod, best rods on earth. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Okay, bait's out there. You guys see the drill at this point. You see what we're doing. The bank is, you can see, it's pretty steep, and then it flattens out. The nose of the boat's in about 8 feet, the tail of the boat's in about 14, so not, there he goes. Oh God, I wasn't even looking. I looked at the graph, I looked up, my line pulled away. That's terrible. I shouldn't even land this fish. I should just let him go right here. I was looking down at the graph so I could get a better idea of what the water depth was actually doing right here, and I looked up and the line's literally pulled tight between me and the fish. Oh, that's funny. Also, I'd like to point out real quick that I was not looking and did not set the hook and somehow caught that fish. And I shouldn't say somehow because he grabbed it pretty good, but those little Berkeley Fusion 19 hooks as well, which are wicked sharp. He's a cute little one. And as the boat's drifting away, it gives me a chance to leave the bait in the water for a long time. So I'm lifting the rod to purposely give it slack so it doesn't pull. And then pop it hard, and that slack line's the whole key. If you don't have that bow in your line, you don't have that slack, all that slack, that's the whole shooting match right there, guys. If your line's tight like that, your bait is not suspended. Your bait's being moved. If it's slack like that, your bait's just hanging there. Nothing's going on with it. When that line pulls, you got a nibble. That's what it comes down to. You're not gonna feel them. In most cases, occasionally they'll get it right when you go to pop it. You'll go pop it like that and it'll just be yank. It'll be a fish on it when you go to pop it. But more often than not, they're gonna get it just suspended, especially in mid-40s water temperature like we are right here. You just can't get in a hurry. That's the biggest thing. You cannot get in a hurry. The more of a hurry you get in, the less fish you're gonna catch. Just let the bait sit there as long as you can let it sit there. And I just about gave up on that one. If the camera looks over, we got a gentleman on the bank here that I'm standing there talking to. And yet it didn't seem to matter any. My little cutter got motored yet again by another beautiful horsetooth smallie. Let me see if I can get a hold of him. There we go. There's the little cutter, guys. I'm having a hard time putting it down when you're catching them like that over and over again right now. Let's drift back here. Got him. There we go. You see him swim away. You can be real casual on the hook set. That's why you rest them, guys. We came through here. We got several bites. We left because we quit getting bites. We come back 30 minutes later and we got another one here. That ain't the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen by any stretch, but we're happy to see him. And I mean, I'm hopefully that the camera's been able to pick up what we're doing here because the bait's just really hanging out there for a long time. That's why you go pattern fishing, guys. That's why. We just came to a new cove. That's my second cast. And we're just running the same kind of banks, the same directional relation. And yeah, we got another one right here and on the same bait, doing the same thing on the long pause. And another fatty. Come on up here, fish. That thing's barely hooked. Hold still, fish. Hold still, fish. Don't get in a hurry, Chad. Come on now. Come here, fish. There we go. Ay, ay, ay. What you need to do is put some more rods on the deck of the boat, right? And we do that because I want to illustrate different things. There's your cutter. Don't need to illustrate anything different there. There's another big fatty. Beautiful fish. Look at the big old belly. Look at that thing. Big old belly on her. Get her put back quick. Once we get in here and get turned a little bit, I'll make a throw the other way. Fish, fish, fish. Got him. Oh, buddy, it's another big one. Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna try to keep the boat from floating in right here. Yeah, and in that, guys, I mean, you can't script that stuff. When you get them to do what they're supposed to do like that, you can see my leader knot. And try to be graceful about landing this guy. Come on up in here. He's got that front hook, so we're not too worried about him coming off. Stop spinning around. One good thing is when the water's cold like this too, the smallies are real cooperative as far as handling goes for the most part. Another beautiful fish. Looks a lot like all the other ones we've caught so far today. Guys, that's it. Cold weather fishing, not necessarily as tough as people think. You know, water in the mid 40s, snow 2 days ago and snow again this afternoon, we can still catch them. The long pause on the jerkbait certainly paid the bills today. 15 to 30-second pauses got it done, but don't discount the tube jig or the wild thing. One of the new Berkeley hard baits both did the job for us as well today. So we appreciate you guys watching. Hope you'll tune in and see what we're up to on our next adventure. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Time now for today's best catch, brought to you by Berkeley.
All right, now I'm gonna smack the camera guy. Look at this one too, it's a big one. Oh buddy, look at that wild thing, guys. That's how you want to see your crankbait in the cold water. Come here, fish, got him.
Berkeley, catch more fish.
In legitimate situations, well, where am I going with all that? I don't even know where I was going with all that. Nope, just tick something. Fish, got him. And figured there'd be one on that ridge somewhere. Oh, he pulled off, golly. Okay, fish got him. Oh, he pulled off, he train wrecked it too. No, something, hung something? Yeah, I just hung something. I don't know if I ever measured it, but I like to catch fish.